Thank you, Chairman, and welcome to the witnesses, particularly Mr. Whitfield. At 86, your mom deserved a hell of a lot better. I want to welcome Mike German in particular back to the committee, because when he got off his undercover work with the FBI, he came to Rhode Island when I was U.S. Attorney and was one of the agents in our FBI field office, and I've had the chance to see the quality of his work firsthand, so it's great to have him here. Couple of questions. Let me start with Dr. Pape. Does history show incidences when violence against a population was preceded by propaganda against that population?
Yes, sir. Northern Ireland is probably our key case we should focus on. In Northern Ireland, there was community support for violence among Catholics in the late 1960s, immediately preceding the rise of the IRA.
So let me jump in and ask if the lesson of history here is also that sometimes the propaganda against that population is deliberate.
Yes, sir. The key part of the deliberate that matters, and this is also critical in the Great Replacement, is the intentionality that's attributed to the actor being evil, malicious. So what you saw on the video that Senator Durbin showed wasn't just simply claims of demographic change. The core part, the anger that creates the violence, is the malicious intent ascribed to those political actors.
And Mr. German, are there indications that propagation of Great Replacement theory is deliberate?
Certainly, and I think it's important to make a distinction between people on the internet saying things that are troubling, people without any position of authority, and authority figures saying those same things. Because when an authority figure says that, somebody who has actual power, it presents a different opportunity to somebody who chooses to be violent, that they're no longer criminal, they are part of a government faction that is encouraging them to commit this violence. So the calculus they have to make is much easier to make, which is why I think that they could amass such a large amount of people that they could actually overwhelm the Capitol Police and assault our democracy. So I think those having authority figures repeat these racist conspiracy theories is what's different now than from when I was working these cases.
So let's go back to before authority figures start repeating these theories, and let's go back to their propagation. I believe Dr. Pape suggested that their history shows that before you get to violence against a population, very often there's a deliberate campaign of propaganda targeting that same population with the purpose often of fomenting that violence. You've said that there are indications that propagation of Great Replacement theory is deliberate. If there are indications that Great Replacement propaganda is deliberate, are there indications not just of what authority figures might be spouting it, but about who is creating it and pushing it out into the internet and into society?
Again, the Great Replacement theory isn't something new, right? The European colonization of the quote-unquote New World was a white supremacist program. The white supremacy was part of our founding and part of our history. So these ideas have always been there. I mean, one of the things
but it seems that they have a lot more currency right now, and it looks like there's been a lot of talk about how much this is spread on Fox News, for instance. Do you think that Fox News is creating this as original content within Fox News? Or do you think there are entities or an enterprise of some kind that is creating the content to be fed to Fox News? Dr. Pape.
So once we have these ideas in the mainstream, sir, the mechanism of their propagation is not a little secret cell somewhere or, let's say, Russian bots. It's the incentive structure of the system. What we are seeing is we're seeing that figures who tout the Great Replacement are being rewarded by becoming more popular after their shows touting the Great Replacement than before. What we're seeing are politicians becoming more popular, receiving more votes by touting these ideas than before. What we're specifically Donald Trump, our former president, highly unlikely to have the political power he has today were it not for January 6th and the ideas underneath that. So what we're seeing, sir, is once these ideas move into the mainstream, the mechanism is no longer a secret cell organization that's, we just got to go root it out. It's unfortunately the incentive structure, and that's why we need a big conversation in the country about this, because otherwise that incentive structure is just going to drive us to more violence.
Well, with my time expired, let me follow up with questions for the record. Thank you, Chairman.